Good morning, my friend. You are just in time. Let's get underway. Nice to have you along again. I really appreciate it.
The Greg Belfrage Show. I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
You sound a little tall on radio. Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time.
I don't believe in them.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show, Tuesday, March 18th. Great to have you along. Well, as you just heard on Fox News Radio, you've got Israel Defense Forces striking Hamas again this morning. Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, said that the reason they're doing this, they're trying to achieve the war objectives that were set by their political leadership, and they want the release of all of their hostages. They said both the living and the falling. They said this decision comes after Hamas repeatedly refused to release our hostages, rejected all proposals presented by the U.S. President's envoy, Steve Witkoff, as well as other mediators. And so they are back at it this morning. The Benjamin Netanyahu's office saying that Hamas has rejected all offers it has received, they said. And Israel Katz said, tonight we return to fighting in Gaza due to Hamas's refusal to release the hostages, threats to harm IDF soldiers and its Israeli communities. If Hamas does not release all the hostages, the gates of hell will open in Gaza, and Hamas's murderers and rapists will meet the IDF with forces they have never known before. And he said that Israel's not going to stop fighting until all of the hostages return home and all the war's goals are achieved. So that is what is underway this morning in Israel. So this is coming, just about 2 months after the ceasefire meant to pause the war. And the president has been very clear in his support of Israel. And I think you hear that, in what Israel is saying. When Israel Katz says that if Hamas does not release all the hostages, the gates of hell will open in Gaza. Where have we heard that before? We've heard that from President Trump, talking about, unleashing, hell unless these hostages are actually returned. That's a big story this morning. Also, we've got the president who will be speaking with Russian President Putin today, trying to end the war in Ukraine. In a post on his True Social platform, the president said many elements of the final agreement have been agreed to, but there's still a lot there that they yet to do. And the president said thousands of young soldiers and others are being killed each week, brings 2,500 soldier deaths from both sides, and it must end now. I look very much forward to the call with President Putin, so that will be taking place today. So we have, in one case, an escalation now of hostilities regarding Israel, and I think Israel has shown remarkable restraint, I think, trying to work and agreeing to a ceasefire, and trying to work with Hamas, and Hamas just, they have shown incredible restraint at this point. So you've got that going on. Then you've got the war between Ukraine and Russia. So those are very big stories this morning, and we'll be getting you updates over the course of the morning from Fox News Radio. Also, the we'll see the return of NASA's stranded astronauts today. They left the International Space Station at 1:05 a.m. this morning to begin their journey back home. They will arrive home. They'll splash down around 5 p.m. Central Time. So around 5 p.m. this afternoon, just prior to 5 p.m. is when they are expected to splash down. So these are the two stranded NASA astronauts, Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams. They successfully undocked from the International Space Station. They have been in space for about 9 months, much longer than they expected to be there. So hours before their departure, the president said he had been in contact with NASA's acting administrator, who's coordinating the mission to bring the astronauts home. And the president said she's coordinating our team of highly respected scientists, space engineers, various other geniuses who have agreed to let our astronauts come home long prior to the 2-week period originally approved by NASA. And he, speaking of Janet Petro, he said, Janet was great. She said, let's bring them home now, sir. And I thanked her. So they left this morning and again splashed down just around 5 p.m. Central Time this afternoon. Also, and this story actually is trending this morning, the president announcing yesterday that former President Joe Biden's adult children, they're no longer going to receive U.S. Secret Service protection. And the president said that Hunter Biden had received Secret Service protection for an extended period of time. And Trump said there are as many as 18 people on this detail, which is ridiculous. Please be advised that effective immediately, Hunter Biden will no longer receive Secret Service protection. And the Secret Service reacting. I should also mention Ashley Biden. This is Hunter's sister. Will also have her Secret Service protection removed as well. There are 13 agents assigned to her security detail. And so Secret Service saying they're aware of the president's decision and they will comply. So again, this is that story is trending this morning. Should Hunter Biden be receiving Secret Service protection? I think a lot of us would have an issue with that. So the president revoking his Secret Service protection. Also, the president said that his administration will be releasing today the remaining government files on the assassination of JFK, John F. Kennedy. And it's like 80,000 documents that are being received, or, that are being released, rather. And the president was at the Kennedy Center yesterday, and he said, while we're here, I thought it'd be appropriate. We are tomorrow announcing and giving all of the Kennedy files, he said. People have been waiting for decades for this. And I've instructed my people that are responsible, put together by Tulsi Gabbard, he says. So he didn't share any of the details, what will be released in the documents. He talked about the sheer volume of documents to be published. He said, we have a tremendous amount of paper. You've got a lot of read it. I don't believe we're going to redact anything, he says. So this is in addition to tens of thousands of records that were released by the National Archives, but thousands of documents have been held back. And it's just amazing. So I asked on Facebook this, and we'll talk about this coming up this morning. How interested are you in this? No redactions, and the president said he hasn't read the files, expects them to be very interesting. And he was asked about this, well, are you going to provide, are you going to summarize these files? And he's like, are you going to read them and summarize the files? So, and he's like, that's your job. I'll let you do that. The media just cracks me up. You got the state media out there. Well, are you going to provide a summary of these? No. We actually expect you to get up off your butt and do it yourself, I think. So 80,000 pages of unredacted files being released today. And the president said, I said during my campaign, I'd do it. I'm a man of my word. So tomorrow, which is today, you have the JFK files. So these will be released this afternoon. We don't know exactly what time. So then it was asked, well, would there be an executive summary? And the president said, no, I'm not doing summaries. You'll write your own summaries. That just cracks me up. Will there be an executive summary? We need you to tell us what to think. We need you to tell us what to do. And that's how it comes across. No, we're giving you the documents. What more do you want? I'm curious to know how interested you are in that. That's a big story this morning. I mentioned to you before, I love White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt and the way that she handles herself and the way she reacts to things. Carolyn Leavitt was asked by Peter Doocy from Fox News yesterday at the press following some comments that were made of a member of this left-wing party in France about the Statue of Liberty and taking it back. And this was on Sunday. He was addressing supporters of his public place party. He told the United States, give us back the Statue of Liberty. It was our gift to you, but apparently you despise her. So she will be happy here with us. And of course, everybody, this is nonsense, but you get the, crowd that's cheering that kind of nonsense on. So Carolyn Leavitt is asked about this yesterday. And she says, absolutely not. She says it and she had a smile on her face. We giving the Statue of Liberty back? Absolutely not. And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. Wow. No kidding. That's a great moment. There's another story this morning. This is from the New York Post. And outside of politics, Tracy Morgan, I think many of you remember Tracy Morgan, who spent some time on Saturday Night Live. He's been in a number of movies and television shows, and he's a big fan of the New York Knicks. He's one of their celebrity super fans. And he became ill during the game between the Heat and the Knicks. And there aren't a lot of details on exactly what happened. But he became sick while the game was going on, forced a delay, was taken off in a wheelchair. He there was a photo posted on social media showing him, and forgive this, he was hunched over and vomiting at his courtside seat. And so he had to be taken out in a wheelchair. And there are photos that are being shared by fans. And Chris, you got, tens of thousands of people who were there. And there was a post on X claiming that Morgan had been bleeding from his nose, that he could barely stand up. So again, they took Tracy Morgan out of the game in a wheelchair, and there's no further word on his situation or what's going on. Morgan has had some ongoing, problems and issues. And hope that he is okay, but that'll be a story. I expect you will be learning more over the course of the day. Also, this has become a big issue. The president talked about this the other day. The president noting this on social media, and I've told you about this at length. It was a big story. I try to follow the president's True Social account, and the president had said on True Social Sunday night, he said he declared he was questioning whether President Joe Biden's signature was used without his consent or knowledge, and especially on these pardons. They were signed by auto pen. And so the president is asking, was Joe Biden actually aware that these were being signed? Or was it his staff who was doing this? So the president said he declared the pardons are void, vacant, and of no further force or effect because they were done by auto pen. And so Carolyn Levitt picks this up yesterday during the press briefing. And she said the president was begging the question that I think a lot of journalists in this room should be asking about whether or not the former president of the United States, who I think we can all finally agree was cognitively impaired. And she said, I know it took time for some to finally admit that, but we all know that to be true, as evidenced by his disastrous debate performance against President Trump. And then she said, I digress on that, but the president was raising the point that did the president even know about these pardons? Was his legal signature used without consent or knowledge? So this is what Levitt is saying from the podium yesterday. And she cited the New York Post. She said there are Biden officials from the previous White House who raised those questions and wondered if the president was consulted about his legally binding signature being signed on the documents. And she said, reporters in the room should investigate. This is what Carolyn Levitt was saying. So everybody in this room should be looking into this, she said, because that would propose perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the president's autograph without his consent. And so that's what was said. And now, man, there are people just exploding in reaction to this. You had Adam Kinzinger, former Republican congressman and pretty much all around dope, who said on CNN yesterday, that if the Justice Department brings charges against him for his work on the January 6th committee, bring it on, and so on. I really just do not care what Adam Kinzinger has got to say. But also over at the New York Post, the Post editorial board publishing an editorial yesterday telling the president, drop this petty push to void Biden's auto pen pardons. That's what they're calling it. And they reacted then to the president's True Social post, and they said, sorry, any such investigation isn't just beating a dead horse. It's digging the horse out of the ground and trying to saddle it. And it reeks of hubris. New York Post is often at odds with the editorial board, often at odds with the Trump White House and with Donald Trump. And they're saying, and generally the New York Post, very, very conservative. And they're saying that voters want the president looking forward to building that new golden age, not looking back at these pardons that signed by Biden. So we have got to talk about that. We'll open up the phone lines, talk about that a little later in the program this morning. Also, among big stories, you're hearing this from Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center this morning. Simple Meats in Yankton closed after 76 years, and you've got all of our local media that has been covering this. The chief executive officer of Yankton Thrive, as well as others, expressing their reactions then to the closing of Simple Meats. Over 250 employees are affected. And the president of American Food Group's Fresh Meats Division said, we recognize the profound impact this has on our team members, their families, and the community. And they said our top priority is supporting those affected during this transition. So they're closing Simple Meats in Yankton and moving those operations to Missouri. And that's a look at the big stories this morning. 628. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Nice to have you along. This hour of our show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Nights 5 to 8. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, the Give You More Tire and Automotive Store.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Andersen picture and combination windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and light in the bedroom, kitchen, or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today.
Let's ABC Seamless.
See why Window World of Sioux Falls doors and windows are right for you. Not only do they raise home value and curb appeal, but costs with energy-efficient construction made in the USA with the best.
Talk to myself a lot. Forgive me.
Now, call 605-373-1100.
That's a habit I am really trying to break.
South Dakota Farmers Union is run by producers like myself.
As I do it at home, I do it especially when I'm down in my office. I'm thinking out loud. Gotta stop that. It's gotta be. People must think I'm just, off my rocker. Don't comment. All right.
From 70s yesterday to blizzard conditions tomorrow, just south and east of Sioux Falls. Quite a forecast. High today, kind of sandwiched in the middle. We'll be up to 57. Northeast winds 15 to 30. It'll stay dry today, but tonight a little rain, a little.
And in Sioux Falls at 6:30. I had the temperature and now gone. It's mostly cloudy, 37 currently at Kello. We're going to check in with Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. Coming up, 300 employees at a meatpacking plant in Yankton laid off. We were just talking about that. No warning, unfortunately. Sioux Falls police searching for the main suspect in last week's kidnapping of a 1-year-old boy. So Joe will have details on those stories and more coming up in minutes here on Kello.
More than 400 reported to have been killed in Israeli airstrikes in Gaza.
After 2 months of relative calm, the bombardment of Gaza resumed overnight. The Israeli military began striking what it called Hamas terror targets after talks failed to extend the ceasefire. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said the militants are refusing to release hostages.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. A federal judge in D.C. gives the Trump administration until noon to provide more information about deportation flights he'd ordered stopped.
The Trump administration deporting more than 200 Venezuelans, it says, are members of the violent Tren de Aragua gang to El Salvador over the weekend, citing the Alien Enemies Act. The federal judge blocking the deportations, calling for planes with the deportees to turn around. The DOJ arguing the move was not enforceable.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. President Trump speaks by phone with Russia's President Putin today. America's listening to Fox News.
Kello News Time 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. 300 employees at Simple Meats in Yankton showed up to work yesterday morning, only to learn they'd all been laid off. Yankton Thrive CEO Nancy Winandi says city officials learned of the move at the same time as employees.
Our primary concern lies with the dedicated employees and their families affected by this decision. We are committed to assisting those impacted during this challenging period.
Parent company American Foods Group says the 76-year-old plant was not profitable. They're moving operations to a new plant in Missouri. Sioux Falls police continue to search for the main suspect in last week's kidnapping of a 1-year-old boy. Javion Bluebird was found unharmed in an apartment Friday afternoon after being abducted at gunpoint from his grandmother's home Thursday night. 2 women were found with the baby. 17-year-old Tiana Bluebird was arrested for first-degree kidnapping, and 22-year-old Elena Bluebird was arrested for abuse or cruelty to a minor. But Officer Sam Clemens says 29-year-old Leilana Sittingup is still at large.
She actually has 4 different warrants. One of them obviously related to the kidnapping, and then there were 3 others that she had before that. So, but she has not been found yet. Still looking for her.
Leilana Sittingup is not the infant's mother or legal guardian. A Sioux Falls man is accused of grooming and soliciting a 15-year-old child. 37-year-old Matthew Hirsch, charged with 3 counts of solicitation of a minor, made his first court appearance yesterday. The allegations date back to March and June of last year. The Attorney General's office has not released details on how Hirsch contacted the alleged victim. Spectators lined the banks of the Missouri River in Pierre yesterday to watch the demolition of the old John C. Waldron Memorial Bridge. The blast was reportedly heard and felt up to 6 miles away. The new replacement bridge was completed last summer. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Partly sunny skies today, Sioux Falls, high temperature 57, quite a bit cooler, northeast wind at 15 to 30. Tonight, north winds 25 to 40. We are looking at temperatures down to 28 degrees. And then tomorrow, winter weather advisory for blowing snow, blizzard warnings just south and east of Sioux Falls. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV, I'm meteorologist Brian Karstens.
The Sioux Empire's most talked about talk shows are right here. Kello News Talk 1320, 107.9, and Kello.com.
More than 400 million people use ChatGPT every week. You probably do too. Sounding like a robot has never felt more human. I'm Kim Commando for Oracle. You can cut your current cloud bill in half if you move to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. See if your company qualifies at oracle.com/Kim. AI chatbots are good, maybe too good. They can mimic our writing with almost uncanny precision. But if you know what to look for, you can spot the seams. Researchers at 4 different major universities are now able to identify AI-generated text with a 97% accuracy. What words are the giveaways? Well, ChatGPT loves utilize and deep dive. China's DeepSeek won't stop saying certainly. Gemini ends sentences with essentially, and Anthropic's Claude overuses according to. Other obvious tells? The overuse of the em dash, which is dramatic, unnecessary. No typos, no contradictions. Those are now the signs of writing without a soul. Always be tech ahead if you get my free newsletter. Sign up at getkim.com. Even if you think it's a bit overhyped, AI is suddenly everywhere, from self-driving cars to molecular medicine to business efficiency. If it's not in your industry yet, it's coming fast. But AI needs a lot of speed and computing power. So how do you compete without costs just spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. It's a blazing fast and secure platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, plus all of your AI and machine learning workloads. OCI costs 50% less for computing and 80% less for networking. Thousands of businesses have already upgraded. Oracle is offering to cut your current cloud bill in half if you move to OCI. Offer ends March 31st, 2025. See if your company qualifies for this special offer at oracle.com/Kim. That's oracle.com/Kim. Oracle.com/Kim. Oracle.com/Kim.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, with 2 locations to make sure you have the proper traction this winter.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression. Izervay or avastin-capted Pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
More happens in South Dakota every day than we can fit on one radio station, even Kello. That's why there's Kello.com and Kello on your phone with a free Kello AM app.
With local stories, podcasts, and other exclusive content.
Get more of South Dakota. Kello News Talk.
Good morning, 638, mostly cloudy, 37 currently at Kello. You're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show this hour, brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
So the president on Sunday said that former President Joe Biden's numerous pardons were signed via electronic auto pen, and he said possibly they was signed by another official, and raised questions about the pardons. He said, therefore, these are declared void, vacant. He put this all in capital letters. They are declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect because they were done by auto pen. And then he went on at length talking about whether the president had knowledge of this because of his cognitive decline. Now, we've got to talk about this in more detail coming up later this morning. Because now you got folks who are reacting to this, the New York Post editorial board reacting to it, saying the president wasting time on these kinds of issues. And we'll get your thoughts about it. So I struggle to find words here. We'll get your thoughts on it coming up a little later this morning. The president said yesterday he was revoking Secret Service protection for Hunter Biden, as well as his sister Ashley Biden. They will lose their Secret Service details. The president wrote, Hunter Biden has had Secret Service protection for an extended period of time, all paid for by the U.S. taxpayer. There are as many as 18 people on this detail, which is ridiculous. Likewise, Ashley Biden has 13 agents. They'll be taken off the list. So this is the Secret Service then also responded to this, saying they understand the president's order and will comply. Also, Conor McGregor who is an Irish mixed martial arts fighter, meeting with the president at the White House yesterday, St. Patrick's Day, of course. So he was meeting with the president. He called for celebration. He also vented about illegal immigration. So McGregor is a fan of President Trump's. And McGregor said, Ireland and America, we are siblings, he said. And he said it was important for Irish Americans to have a place to visit. And he went on then, in fact, he took the podium several times. And at one point, and he was hit with a number of questions about trade disputes and so on. And so McGregor at one point said, what's going on in Ireland, he was talking about illegal migration into Ireland. And he said, what's going on in Ireland is a travesty. Our government is a government of zero action. Our money is being spent being spent on overseas issues that has nothing to do with the Irish people. And he said an illegal immigration racket is ravaging our country, he said. And understanding that you have, millions of people who are descendants of Irish immigrants in the United States. And so he said the 40 million Irish Americans need to hear this, because if not, there will be no place to come home and visit. He said the country risks potentially losing its Irishness, he said. So Conor McGregor touring the White House press room and really grabbing the podium. As I saw portions of this yesterday as it was happening. And he just made it. He owned the stage. As an actor, that's what you say, owning the stage. Man, he owned the stage. Got Conor McGregor up there. And he said, it's also St. Patrick's Day, so little celebrations to be sure, he said. He called President Trump inspiring. And then the president also talked about his appreciation for McGregor. And he said, he's got the best tattoos I've ever seen. Conor's great, right? President said. Also, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, says he's planning to fire the head of Shin Bet. That is Israel's domestic intelligence agency, Shin Bet. So Netanyahu, according to reports that I'm seeing, he's being inspired by Donald Trump and how Donald Trump is clearing out the U.S. government. Now Benjamin Netanyahu is being inspired to do the same thing. And so Netanyahu, in a video statement, talking about firing the head then of their intelligence agency, he said, at all times, but especially during an existential war such as the one we face, there must be full trust between the prime minister and head of the Shin Bet, he said. Unfortunately, the situation is the opposite. I do not have such trust. I have ongoing distrust in the head of the Shin Bet, a distrust that has grown over time, he said. So this will have to be voted on by the cabinet at a meeting coming up tomorrow. And allies of the prime minister welcome this. The Israel has divisions very much like you see in this country, and I've spoken on this before, that you've got elements within their, just as the United States does. You've got President Trump, and then you've got Democrat elements, and so on. Israel has the same kind of setup. So we'll see where that goes. But that story is trending this morning. Also, the Trump administration has drafted a new travel ban affecting at least 43 countries. And they're splitting them into three groups: red, orange, and yellow. The red list includes 11 countries whose citizens would face a complete travel ban. The other two lists would face visa restrictions until a review then makes a decision one way or the other. So the plan was developed by the State Department, directed by an executive order from President Trump. He did this on Inauguration Day. So now they're coming forward with the plans for the new travel ban. Remember, Donald Trump has done this previously. So this would affect at least 43 countries then. It's going to, in some cases, again, citizens would face, some would face, again, 11 countries face a complete ban. The other two lists, visa restrictions. And we've seen the president do this previously when he was president previously. Also trending this morning, stories about what's going on in the Middle East and between the United States, the Houthis, how that might affect Iran, and will there be a confrontation then between the Houthis in Yemen and the United States? The Houthis have made it very clear their motto is death to America, death to Israel, and a curse on the Jews. So they have been taking steps then in solidarity with Hamas. Since the start of the Gaza war, the Houthis have attacked more than 100 ships in the Red Sea. They fired rockets at Israel. So, as to what the United States is doing, then being suggested the president's real target is Iran. And Iran is regarded as the chief military backer of the Houthis. And the president has said, he's warned Iran. He said, be warned, because America will hold you accountable and we will not be nice to you, Trump has said on social media. So there are stories that are trending surrounding all of that. Also, the FDA has targeted a manufacturer of poppers. Have you ever heard of poppers? It's an inhalant drug that has gained a lot of popularity, really in the mainstream clubbing. It's these poppers are part of the club scene, sexual activity, and so a poppers manufacturer called Double Scorpio, based in Austin, issued a statement on their website Thursday saying the company had stopped all operations following a search and seizure at our offices by the FDA. So that raid came after Robert F. Kennedy Jr. took the helm at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. They oversee, of course, the FDA. And so the Kennedy has suggested that poppers and other drug use are contributors to AIDS, and that's causing a lot of, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his, where he's involved, a lot of his thoughts are cause controversy. So It's not clear, though, what led to the raid or whether Kennedy actually had any knowledge of it. You really don't know. So the news about the FDA search and seizure was first released by Fast Company based on anonymous sources that a broader crackdown was underway. An FDA spokesperson was asked about it as to whether there was a crackdown then on the manufacturers of poppers. And they said they just don't comment on criminal investigations. So they said nothing. So one company that's called the Popper King, based in New York, said they had no contact with the FDA. Some have. So the FDA raiding this manufacturer of poppers, and again, these poppers are used by folks when they're clubbing. It's also used in the sexual scene. Other stories trending this morning. 5 new movies opened in North American theaters this weekend. I think probably only one of them I'm kind of interested in seeing. I'd like to see that Looney Tunes movie. I'm kind of a cartoon myself. Novocaine led the pack, $8.7 million, according to studio estimates over the weekend. Lower than expected. The film stars Jack Quaid as a man who literally can't feel pain. And it really didn't do all that well at the box office. Also, Fannie Willis, you'll remember the Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis. She's been ordered to pay over $54,000 for violating open records laws in Donald Trump's case. So a Superior Court judge for Fulton County ruled that Willis must pay over $54,000 in attorney's fees and litigation costs after intentionally failing to deliver records that were requested by the attorney who was seeking to disqualify Willis. And so Willis never turned it over. And she went on to explain that since Willis' office had failed to provide documents related to the employment of Nathan Wade, this whole thing is just unseemly. But the judge saying she believed that, this was Ashley Merchant, said she believed that Willis and Wade likely both financially benefited from Wade's appointment as the special prosecutor in that case. So Fannie Willis back in the news again. Also, going to Harvard University became a lot easier for some families thanks to a significant expansion of financial aid. They made an announcement yesterday to make tuition, we're talking about Harvard, make it tuition free for students whose families have annual incomes of $200,000 or less. So they gave a special nod to those students whose families making less than $100,000 a year. They will have all other expenses such as food, housing, health insurance, travel costs, all covered. Also, U.S. retail sales rebounded in February, suggests that the economy continuing to grow in the first quarter, though at a moderate pace. You got those tariffs on imports, the number of firings, government firings that we have seen, all of that having an impact. But U.S. retail sales rose 0.2% last month after a 1.2% decline in January. So that decline had followed some gains in the fourth quarter. There's a man who was recovering after he was set on fire near Times Square. This is really disturbing. New York City police then hunting for a suspect who set this man on fire right in the middle of Times Square. It happened on early Sunday. And the man survived, but he was in the Midtown Manhattan tourist area around 4 a.m. when he was attacked. Firefighters worked with police to extinguish the flames, and the victim was he was severely burnt, taken to a local hospital. And the man told police he was approached by a man who lit him on fire. After first throwing some liquid substance on him, police believe it was a flammable that he was throwing on him and then lighting him on fire. And witnesses say they saw the man on fire, but they didn't see the attack itself. So police are now searching for the suspect. And also that storm that created a number of tornadoes, dust storms, wildfires, still trending, killed at least 40 people, destroyed hundreds of homes and businesses. And that's a look at the stories that are trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. 6:57. Thanks for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. It's great to have you along this hour, brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Race that matters is the race for.
Thank you, my friend, for being here. Hope you'll come back at 9:30 for the fourth hour. I will see you then. You take care. Have a great morning.